Welcome back, everybody. For this section, we talk about the hazards associated with earthquakes. So our first type of hazard are the primary hazards. These are hazards as a result of the ground shaking. So earthquake happens, ground shakes a lot. You might have buildings collapsing, bridges falling down, all of the direct consequences of the earthquake. What's even worse, usually, than the shaking of the earthquake, though, are all of these secondary hazards. So the earthquake leads to a fire, and then the fire burns down half the city. Or worse, more common, the earthquake leads to a tsunami, and then the tsunami is what damages the entire coastline of a country. Usually these secondary hazards are worse than whatever comes from the shaking itself. Now, we'll take a look at this photo here. And this is not like a creative art piece. This is a car that has been sunk into the ground. During an earthquake, sometimes the ground goes through this process called liquefaction. It gets shaken up, it becomes liquid in terms of its behavior, and the car would actually just fall into the ground. And we'll take a look at a video here. So what does this actually look like? We have a person who is experiencing an earthquake, maybe a more minor one here. And for whatever reason, the soil content of the soil here, or the moisture content of the soil here, is high enough to where whenever the ground starts shaking, it starts to behave like a liquid. I mean, you just look at this thing, you try to bulldoze it, try to move it like that, and it behaves almost like, I don't know, you have too much that chocolate milk powder or whatever on the top. Yeah, so you try to dig into the ground here. It's not liquid, it's still solid stuff, and yet it behaves kind of like a liquid. Coming up next, we have the intersection of earthquakes on the one hand and Earth's interior, which we covered before, on the other hand.